It's a classic. Die Hard, released in 1988 and directed by directed by John T. McTiernan. She's giving me so much hassle. Die Hard, released in 1998 and directed by John McTiernan. John McTiernan. John McTiernan, go away.
Just say it again. Get it right.
Leave me alone.
No, never.
Production cost of $28 million, domestic take of $85 million, an international take of $57 million for a worldwide total of $114 million, giving them a nice little profit of $86 million, less all marketing and associated costs. Starring Bruce Willis, Bonnie Bedelia, Alan Rickman, and Reginald Val Johnson. Characters. We'll start with the obvious one, John McClane. This is the character, this is the entire movie that launched Bruce Willis into stardom, into the action stardom in particular, and never really let him leave. It's probably his most famous character, I'd say. The stereotypical tough guy cop of the 80s with a marriage on the rocks and the attitude problems, and the fact that his captain keeps telling him off apparently. It's an incredibly well-presented stereotype, and it works very, very nicely. They often say the hero is only as good as the villain, and in this case, Alan Rickman. He plays Hans, the ringleader for this terrorist/robbery group. He's got the charisma, he's got the style, he's fully in control. Got everything planned out, he's got this brilliant mastermind plan which ends up utilizing the police and the FBI. Things that you'd normally worry about, he's hoping for. He needs them. Great character and brilliant counterpoint to John McClane. No, shut up! Alright. Sergeant Al Powell, he was your grounded, somewhat realistic, external viewpoint for the movie. He's the guy on the outside trying to communicate, trying to figure out what's going on, and ending up being McClane's radio buddy. And that was a nice element. I really actually quite liked the way that they presented that relationship. And Holly, John McClane's wife, team leader, working in working for the company that's been taken over. Pretty sure it's Nakatomi. Yeah, Nakatomi Building. I really want to get one of these shirts, eh? You call her the sympathetic anchor for the movie. She's the one you worry about, and she's the one that gives you the other point of view. These four characters, when combined, cover the entire story from 4 different angles, and it's just great. Brilliant use of characters, really well defined, fun to watch, fun to be on this ride with. Combine that with everyone else doing a brilliant job. Characters, they get a 4. Story. Okay, so story is actually really simple when you think about it. There's a couple of plot twists towards the end, but other than that, it's very straightforward. There's a party in a building. Building's taken over by terrorists. Everyone's held hostage, and one rogue cop runs around trying to save the day. Really quite simple, and because of that simplicity, you're able to take the characters and explore the scenario, explore the whole situation in depth. You don't have to worry about all these other machinations. You've only got 4 points of view, and 3 of them are inside the building anyway. The other thing I wanted to mention, because I really appreciated it, is the way they took their time with the story. This one doesn't rush in. You know, they take a little time to set up at the start. And even once the bad guys have taken over the building, you're still drip-fed the story until, what, late second act? Where everything starts to pick up speed as everything starts to unravel for the bad guys. But until then, you know, you get to see them taking over the phone lines, trying to access the vault through normal methods. Then hacking and drilling, setting up the explosives, controlling everyone. You got this escalating story, but it's a slow build-up. I also like the way that John McClane just didn't leap straight into action. He didn't just start taking people out. He may be the hero of the story, but he's certainly a reluctant hero. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be doing any of this. And as he constantly says throughout the movie, what are you doing, John? Why this is a bad idea. And when you combine that element of the hero with a villain who would have everything absolutely under control, if it wasn't for the hero, that's interesting. So it was a simple story, very well executed with rising tension, multiple points of view, escalating threat with one heck of a climax. It was good. It was a very good example of contained storytelling. Pretty much what they call a bottle episode in the old Star Trek series. As a result, story is going to get a 3.75. Entertaining and very well done. Look and feel. Well, unfortunately, it looks like the late 80s, which, is always a downer for me. I really don't enjoy that time frame. Still, the movie is very well polished, very, very well shot. Even the boring slow moments are well done. Interesting angles, interesting approach to filming it all. The scene where you got the delivery van and the sedan pulling up to Nakatomi Plaza, and as they're going along, truck in the background descends like like a shark or a submarine going underwater. Especially with the music playing in the background when that happens, it's stuck in my head actually. That shot, for whatever reason, is always one of my favorites. Then you got all the location shots and the sets and like the fittings, clothing, weaponry, even to carpet and lighting. Everything felt exactly like it was meant to. You never felt like they were anywhere else but this big high-rise building downtown some city in America. California? LA? Something like that. It always felt situationally real and grounded. And I mentioned the music before, and I want to go back to that. The music all through this was really, really well done. And the way they kept using classical music in the background all the time, different variations of it, sometimes very, very bassy, sometimes very light and high in the background, but it's always there to underpin moments and emphasize things. And then the silence with just slight music just to kind of like make everything feel a bit more tense. Just classic stuff, classic cinematography, classic movie making, and done really, really nicely. Also, I thought the lighting was particularly well done in this film. Even though the whole thing's like at night in a building full of light, you still got a lot of chance to play with dramatic shadow and backlighting and those sorts of effects. That was really, really good too. Or the practical effects, the stunt work, the gunplay, the whole thing. Everything about this movie complemented everything else about this movie. May not have the final polish and presentation of modern action movies these days, but it's still one of the best ones out there. Look and feel also gets a 3.75. Script and dialogue. Okay, now, much like the rest of the movie, this is actually very well done. Line delivery, interaction with all the actors, the way everything feels quite natural. And it felt really good to be able to switch to the outside and then back inside and then outside again and give you familiar and believable points of contact on both sides. The use of German without subtitles a lot in the movie as well. That was cool. It added the element of mystery. It added the element of tension, in fact. And you just had to kind of piece together what they were saying through their actions. And I really like it when they do that. They never gave you just a massive plot dump. They didn't just bury you in exposition for one or two scenes. Again, you had to piece the whole plot and the reason and everything behind it together through what you were watching them do and the snippets of conversation as the story progresses. And whilst you didn't need to be a genius to figure out what was going on, it was nice that they didn't treat you like an idiot and explain every damn step. As I've said before, one of the things I didn't like about the 80s was really quite the rampant and pointless use of heavy language. I've never really liked it in movies. It has to be situational and it has to be particularly, circumstantially necessary in many ways for me. This one, it goes off. It's, like I said, it's late 80s. It's fairly constant in this. I just don't see the need for it, to be honest. But yeah, there was really no bad dialogue in the movie. There were no pointless lines. There were no stupid lines. There were no foolish scenarios that the characters are trying to talk themselves into or out of that just didn't, fit the movie. Every now and then you'll see one of these action movies and there'll be this little sequence that just feels like it's from a different film. Like it doesn't make any sense to be there. Didn't have that problem in this. And the 80s actually had that problem a lot, to be honest. Not as bad as the 90s, to be fair. The 90s went completely mad on that sort of thing. But this was well done. Tightly written, tightly wound together, everything interlocking perfectly well. Script, story, characters, presentation, everything clicking together. Script gets an easy 3.5. No problems. Fun factor. Well, the main fun of this movie is watching everything come together. McClane's actions, the villains getting upset at McClane's actions, behavior of everyone on the outside, and I quite enjoyed watching Holly figure out whether or not John was still alive depending on the behavior of the bad guys. As far as action movies go, this is a really fun time. This is a classic action film. I used to classify the rival series, Lethal Weapon, as an action series, except having watched them again now, Lethal Weapon's definitely a cop show, whereas this is definitely the action movie. It's a great old time. This is the movie that many other movies have based themselves on. NCIS LA actually had a whole episode which was pretty much a rip-off of Die Hard, and in fact they referenced Die Hard during the episode and the circumstances in it. It's a good fun, great time, it's a 4, no one's surprised. Final score. Add them all together and you get yourself a 19. No surprises there. This is a good time. Classic example of the action genre. The best example of the late 80s. And a good example of what happens if you do such a good job in a certain particular role, you never really get to do anything else ever again. Anyhow, there's my review of Die Hard. Thanks for joining me. Hope you had a good time. Please like, share and subscribe. Comment down below or on the Facebook page. And as always, I hope you're having a great week and that you make some time to go and watch a movie.